So hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to Dublin, Ireland. So in this special video I'm going to bring you around the city and show you places and things that have been featured on Irish coins, both the euro and the pound. So lucky for me, they're all around Dublin, and yeah, I'll be taking you around the whole city in this video. Okay, so I'm starting off down here in the Docklands. This is the newest part of Dublin, the most modern, and it is home to the headquarters of many organisations, some pretty big ones. But it's also the location of the first coin site. We try and find it. We are going to head to that very fancy looking gold building over there across the river. So yeah, I think let's go over and head to it. And here we are. So this building is home to the headquarters of the Central Bank of Ireland, the people who are in charge of the financial system here in Ireland and our money here. So these are the people whose fault it is why there isn't a load of Irish commemorative coins. Ireland, of course, is a member of the Eurozone, and in doing so is also a member of the European Monetary Union, the EMU. The central bank being our representative at it. And as I said earlier, the Central Bank of Ireland is in charge of our money and, of course, making our money. The Mint is located on the suburbs of Dublin, so they've been making coins to various amounts over the past few years. Some years they hardly seem to be doing anything. But of course there was 10 years of physical euro coins and banknotes celebrated in 2012. And here of course is the Irish coin. There is a small visitor centre in the central bank which discusses the history of the central bank as an institution and a little bit about the modern Irish coinage made from 1928 onwards. It's okay, but there's a better exhibition on Irish money in another museum, which we'll get to in a while. Okay, so a little bit upriver from the Central Bank of Ireland is this bridge. This is the Samuel Beckett Bridge, named after one of our most famous writers here in Ireland. It is one of many of the bridges across the River Liffey that flows through Dublin, but this one is my favourite. It was actually built in the Netherlands and shipped over on a barge in one piece and then sailed up the River Liffey, where it was well, I guess dropped off in this location. It actually opens up fully for bridges so they can sail upriver. Now, Samuel Beckett was featured on a silver coin released by Ireland. We release at least one or two each year, as well as gold coins, just to make up for the fact that we don't release many €2 commemorative coins. And I'm hoping to buy more of these silver and gold coins over the next few years, hopefully. But yeah, and one thing you might notice, it's very similar looking to a harp. Now obviously this is way too modern to be the harp that is on our coins, but we'll go and see the actual harp that is on the Irish coins. So yeah, let's head on. Okay, so we've come to the next site. This is Trinity College, Dublin. It is our oldest surviving university here in Ireland, and it is home to two things that are featured on Irish coins. One of them a pretty big deal, actually. Well, actually, they're both pretty big deals to us here in Ireland. Now, this is probably the most prestigious university here in Ireland. As a kind of claim of being a posh university, but no, it's one of the top tourist attractions here in Ireland and in Dublin, just because of its beautiful campus with all its Georgian buildings. But yeah, let's have a little bit of a look around and we'll go and see the two objects that are featured on the Irish coins. Okay, so the building behind me is the old library of Trinity College, and it houses two objects that are featured on on some of the Irish coins. The first of those objects is the actual harp, the real life harp that that the harp that's on Irish coins is based on. It's actually a real thing. The Trinity College harp, or the Brian Boru harp, as it's also known, is in this building. The harp is on display in what is known as the Long Room. This truly iconic room, holding thousands of books, was built in the 18th century and was the Trinity College's main library until its modern replacement was built. It contains thousands and thousands of books, some pretty rare. But of course, we're not here to see the books, but we'll have to try and find this harp. And here it is. This is the famous harp that appears on all of our euro coins and pound coins. It dates from about the 14th to 15th century, as making it one of the oldest surviving harps in Ireland and Great Britain, maybe even Europe. In the 1920s, the Irish government chose this particular harp to be the symbol to be put on our coins, and it has remained there ever since. The harp has been a symbol of our country, or our island, for nearly 1,000 years by now. We are the only country in the world to have a musical instrument as our national symbol, and I think that's a fact that Irish people are quite proud to have associated with our country. Okay, so that is another object to do with Irish coins seen, so let's get on to the next one. The second object is the Book of Kells, a celebrated Irish medieval manuscript. The designs of these coins, the Irish penny coins from our Irish pound, the punt, were based on elements from the Book of Kells. The book is a highly decorated copy of the four Gospels of the Bible. It was created around the year 800 AD and is the pinnacle of Irish insular art, or probably our most treasured historical object. It represents a golden age of Irish history when Ireland was known as the land of saints and scholars, a centre of learning and Christianity in Europe. The 680-page book has been held at Trinity College since 1661. It is prohibited to film the actual book itself, but I have left a link to a digital copy of the book provided by Trinity College. The designs on the penny coins are based on fancy lettering, or capitals as they're called, that are scattered throughout the book, many of these taking the forms of animals or geometric designs. Okay, so seeing as I'm at a university, it would be wrong of me to forget about the Erasmus coin that is coming. I don't have one yet, obviously. But yeah, apparently Trinity College is one of the most international university in Europe, because 30% of the students that attend this college aren't from Ireland, they're international students. I'm sure many of them are on the Erasmus programme, as well as the many Irish students here who may have took part in the Erasmus programme as well. So yeah, that is the Erasmus coin covered. Okay, so a little bit of a detour. Right across the street from Trinity College is this building. This is the old Irish Houses of Parliament. It was the first purpose-built parliament in the world, parliament building, constructed in the 18th century to house the Irish Parliament. It no longer houses the Irish Parliament. It is now the main branch of one of our commercial banks here in Ireland. To see where our parliament is now, we have to go talk about the next coin that there is. So yeah, unfortunately it would be good if the parliament was here in this building. It's one of the most iconic grand buildings in the city, but no, unfortunately can't be used as a parliament building again. Okay, so I just showed you where the Irish Parliament used to sit, but this is where our current Parliament came into existence. This is the Mansion House. It is the official residence of the Lord Mayor of Dublin, and it is here in 1919 that the first Dáil Éireann met. So basically, this was in 1919 was a time of Irish turmoil. We were still struggling to get our independence from the UK. But in 1919, the Irish MPs that were elected to London decided to sit here in the Mansion House in Dublin instead, in their own parliament. They declared to the world their independence, and on that day, the Irish War of Independence began and lasted for 2 years. So here we have the coin itself. The building isn't on the coin, but it's a kind of an image. It's based on a photo of the assembly, the parliament, the Dáil Éireann that took place in the back of the building, in the round room. But there we go, that is another commemorative coin done, and one of the unique ones for us here in Ireland. Okay, well, obviously our parliament doesn't sit here any longer. The Dáil Éireann is not here, and yeah, the parliament as a whole, that moved to another place, and yeah, I'll go and show you that now. Okay, so this is where the Irish Parliament now sits. This is Leinster House, home of Dáil Éireann and Seanad Éireann, the Senate, the upper house. Okay, so a big feature of Irish coins before the euro was all the animals that featured on them. So I would have had a very tricky time finding those animals roaming around Dublin, so I've come to the next best place. This is the Natural History Museum of Ireland. It was built in the 19th century and has remained untouched since then. So it's a really cool step back in time to see a Victorian museum. Now unfortunately it's closed at the minute. Well, being 150 years old, its roof needs replacing. So, but yeah, once it's open, it's really cool, and you'll be able to see most of those animals that are on the Irish coins in there, stuffed and in glass cases. Okay, so for the next coin, I've come to the National Museum of Ireland's Archaeology branch, right beside Leinster House that we saw earlier. So the museum houses objects, thousands of them, from the first settlers in Ireland right up until the medieval period, so thousands of years of history. And one of those artifacts is featured on a coin. So yeah, let's go in and have a look around the museum and see if we can find that object. And here we have the brighter boat as featured on the Millenium Coin from 2000, the £1 coin. It is an Iron Age golden object, believed to be dedicated to the Irish sea god Monamnon. It is part of a hoard of objects that were found by Lough Foyle in the north of Ireland. And it is one of the most iconic objects in the National Museum. So yeah, there we go. That is another coin. Okay, so I've took a little bit of a detour to come to this building. This is the EU's offices here in Dublin. So Ireland had joined the EU back in 1973, along with Denmark and the UK. So next year we're going to be members for 50 years. And am I being a little bit naive or hopeful that maybe Ireland might release a commemorative coin for it? I don't know if future Kevin's watching this. Did my dream come true? But here we have the two EU related commemorative coins here in Ireland, the Treaty of Rome and the 30th anniversary of the EU flag. So yeah, that is another coin site visited. Right, so here I am, another site. This is the grounds of Dublin Castle, which you can see behind me. Now, these gardens weren't always like here. That actually used to be a very shallow, well, kind of shallow pool of water where a river once flowed, which eventually joined the Liffey, which is behind the castle. And it is this pool that attracted the Vikings here in the 9th and 10th centuries to set up a settlement. They called it the settlement Dublin, or to translate roughly the dark pool because of the shallowness of the pool of water behind me. Now Dublin in Irish is also black pool, dark pool. So yeah, we can thank the Vikings for establishing our capital city here in Ireland, as well as pretty much all our other cities here in Ireland. Now for the actual coin to do with this place. To celebrate the 1000th anniversary of the founding of Dublin, this 50p coin was released in 1988, and it shows the coat of arms of the city of Dublin, the three castles, as well as the name in Irish, Airgead, Dublin, and then 1000. So Airgead, Baile Airgead is actually the official Irish name, and that means ford of the hurdles, which is to do with a crossing of the River Liffey. But you also have Dublin as well for the Viking settlement, the Dark Pool. So yeah, that is another site. So this is the main courtyard of Dublin Castle. There's actually very little remaining of the medieval castle left standing. This is all kind of 18th century. But when the British ruled Ireland, this was their centre of operations, their headquarters, I guess you could say. But when we became independent, it still holds an important function. Many important state events take place in the castle, including the inauguration ceremonies of our presidents. And whenever Ireland holds the EU presidency, this is where important EU meetings are held with all the leaders from all the member states. So yeah, one of the grandest buildings here in Dublin, and maybe Ireland, I don't know. We have the Guinness factory right across the river. I could do with a pint of Guinness, maybe, maybe later. But no, here we are at our next stop. It is another branch of our National Museum. This is Collins Barracks. As the name suggests, this used to be an old army barracks. When it was built, it was actually one of the largest in the entire world. It's no longer an army barracks for the past 30 years. It was converted by the government into another branch of our National Museum, and this one holds exhibitions on modern Irish history as well as decorative arts. So yeah, I guess let's head on in, see a couple of exhibitions that have to do with Irish coins. Right, so here is an exhibit that should be of interest to us. It is Airgead, 1000 years of Irish coins and currency. So yeah, let's go have a look. Here are the coins I'm a little bit more familiar with. The old pre-decimal. Then the decimal. Then of course the euro has to get a mention. And then this is what our banknotes used to look like before we got the euro. Do remember them from being a kid. Than some of the older types. So I've just come outside of Collins Barracks Museum to Arbor Hill Cemetery. This is the burial place of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising. The rising occurred after dissatisfaction with British rule in Ireland. We were promised home rule, our own parliament for years, but the British failed to deliver it due to World War I. A group of Irishmen and women of the Irish Republican Army, the IRA, decided to hold a rebellion and take independence by force. They captured a load of locations around Dublin and Ireland during Easter week of 1916, but after a week of fighting they were ultimately outgunned and surrendered to the British Army. The rebellion wasn't popular with Irish people at the time. It just led to a load of destruction of Dublin, but it was the execution of the leaders of the rebellion that turned Irish attitudes and led us to a path of independence, first with our own breakaway parliament in 1919, the first Dáil, and our War of Independence from 1919 to 1921, with eventually the Irish Free State and our independence being granted in 1922. So yeah, it's a lovely memorial. We have the burial plot of the leaders, and then the proper Irish proclamation inscribed on the stone. Apparently took 4 years to complete. Okay, of course this video is about Irish coin sites and coins related to places, so this place does have a kind of coin related to it. It is the burial place of the leader of the Easter Rising, Pádraig Pearse. And he is the only person to have been featured on an Irish circulating coin. So there's his portrait. This is a 10 shilling coin released in 1966 to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Easter Rising. So he's buried here too. The Spire of Dublin, a random 120 metre high metal spike in the middle of our main street. Okay, so this is O'Connell Street, our main street in the city of Dublin and in the country. And this is the location of the last coin site, which is right behind me. This is the GPO, the General Post Office, and it was here in 1916 that the centre of the Easter Rising was. This is where Pádraig Pearse read out the proclamation in 1916, and where they eventually surrendered after a week of fighting. So this is to do with 2 coins. We've already seen the first one. We'll have to go inside first to get the other side of that coin, and then we'll talk about the last one when we're outside again. Okay, so we've already talked about this side of this particular 10 shilling coin from 1966, but we have the other side. Give it a bit of a wipe. Now this is a statue of Cuchulainn, legendary demigod, Irish warrior in Irish mythology, and this is based on a statue that is inside the GPO that was placed here in 1935 to mark the anniversary of the Easter Rising. And there's the statue. Right, so in 2016 we released our first unique Euro commemorative coin. You're all very familiar with it, of course. It's the centenary of the Easter Rising, Hibernia. Now Hibernia is the Latin name for the country of Ireland, well, the island of Ireland, as named by the Romans. But Hibernia is also the name of a physical representation of our country, just like Marianne for France. And on the coin you can see a statue, which is right there. There is Hibernia. So that's it. That's our last coin. And Hibernia always has to make an appearance in at least all of my videos. Right, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed our little walk around Dublin to see some of the sites that are actually on the Irish coins. I think it did alright. But yeah, again, thank you for watching, and of course there'll be regular coin hunt videos as always coming up. So yeah, thank you.